We continue now at the top of Daf Zayin Amud Beis Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 16b. We're continuing to analyze the Tosefta and Meseches Kilayim. The Tosefta made a distinction between panels which are less than 4 Tvachim and panels which are 4 Tvachim. And so now the Gemara says that part of the Tosefta, Ason l'Rab Shimon Gamliel. That part sounds like Rav Shimon Gamliel. Diamar Pachus Me'arba Lavud, who says that less than 4 Tvachim is Lavud. Di'i Rabbanan, because if that part was following the Rabbanan, Mishlosh Yad Arba, from 3 until 4, Shlosha v'arba chadu, that should all be the same. Why should there be a distinction between less than 4 tvachim and 4 tvachim or more? And so that contradicts, because in the first part of the Tosefta, sounds like lavud is less than 3 tvachim. Here it sounds like lavud is less than 4 tvachim. Rashi says, Ason Rav Shimon Gamliel, Kilomar, ad dalid velo dalid bechlal, sounds like until 4 tvachim, but once it hits 4 tvachim, something changes. Dahatana above achrisi kolshu dalid midalid ad yudamos, Ason Rav Shimon Gamliel, to come aflig nami, ben pachos midalid. So basically, another way to ask the question is the Gemara is asking, how come the Tosefta makes a distinction between panels that are less than 4 Tvachim and 4 Tvachim or more, if that has nothing to do with love, and we've already established that love in this Tosefta is less than 3 Tvachim. So what's going on? So the Gemara says, again, Di Rabbanan, Mishlosh Yad Arba, Shlosh Arba Chadu. 3 Tvachim, 4 Tvachim should be the same according to the Rabbanan. So the Gemara answers, Amar Abaya. Abaya says, Midureisha Rabbanan Seifa Nami Rabbanan. This is Abaya's approach. Abaya says, from the fact that the beginning of the Tosefta is the Rabbanan, the end of the Tosefta is also the Rabbanan, meaning less than 3 Tvachim is loved. Umodu Rabbanan, but the Rabbanan admit Dechol Lemishra Kenegdo, that if we're trying to permit you to plant on opposite sides of the actual panels, so then I'iko Makom Arba Chashiv, Velo Lo Chashiv. If the panel is 4 Tvachim, that's considered Chashiv, and therefore you can plant on opposite sides. Has nothing to do with Lavud. It has to do with a different halacha, that the halacha basically is, if you have a situation where, even if you have a situation where there's more parrots than Omeid, but if the panel is a Chashiv amount, it's 4 Tvachim, then you could at least plant on opposite sides of the panels different vegetations in terms of Hilchas Kilayim. It has nothing to do with Lavud. Rava Amar has a different approach. Midaseifa Rav Shimon Gamliel Reisha Nami Rav Shimon Gamliel. On the contrary, from the fact that the end of the Tosefta is Rav Shimon Gamliel, the beginning is also Rav Shimon Gamliel. Really, Lavud is less than 4 Tvachim. However, V'chiyamar Rav Shimon Gamliel Amrin and Lavud Hani Mili Lamala. As we said earlier, Rav Shimon Gamliel's halacha of Lavud by less than 4 Tvachim is when things are up above. But anytime you're dealing with things near the ground, so there, Lavud has to be, like in this case as well, where there are panels that are on the ground that the Gediyim can just walk right through. So in those situations, if it's 3 Tvachim or more, it becomes a Mechitza that the Gediyim, the goats, can go right through. Lo Amrin and Lavud, so Rav Shimon Gamliel will admit that in those situations, we do not say Lavud. Rashi over here says, again, Di Rabbanan migimel v'yadalad gimel v'dalad chadu migimel v'yadalad bitmiya hechi ma'aflik dalad migimel. Why make a distinction according to the Rabbanan? To katani ad v'lo ad bechlal, the tani seifa kol shu dalad hol Rabbanan gimel v'dalad chadu. And the Gemara answers, Hani mili, again, this is Rava's answer, Hani mili lamala. Rav Shimon Gamliel's halach is only lamala, ke'in korah, for example, like by a beam, where it's up above, then we talk about love it at less than 4 Tvachim. But if you're talking about something that's reaching the ground, then love it already, even Rav Shimon Gamliel admits, is going to be at less than 3 Tvachim. And the Gemara here tries one more proof to this issue of parrots ka'omed. Tashma, coming here. Defanos halolu sharubon psachim v'chalonos. If you have walls which are majority doors and windows, mutter, it's mutter. Uvilvad shi'e omed merubal parts. But you have to have more closed, walled-off space than open space. So first the Gemara says sharuban salkadaitach. What does this mean? The majority. How could it be majority openings? It just said that there's more walled space than open space. Ela shariba behen psachim v'chalonos. Obviously, the way to read it is that you have many doors and windows in these walls. Mutter uvilvan she'e omed merubal aparetz. It's mutter as long as there's more closed space than open space. Hakaparutz aser. That implies that if it's parutz ke'omed, it would be a problem. Tiyufta de Rav Papa, that should be a refutation of Rav Papa. And the Gemara says Tiyufta, that is indeed a refutation of Rav Papa. However, the Gemara says V'hilchasa kavasi de Rav Papa. The halach is like Rav Papa. Gemara says Tiyufta v'hilchasa, it's a refutation, and we paskin like him. Seems to be a contradiction. The Gemara says yes. Misham dedaika masnisin kavasi, because there's a Mishnah that actually sounds like Rav Papa. The Mishnah says the Tanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Lo yiyu pirtzos yeseros ala binyan. It says the open space cannot be more than the built space. Ha kibinyan mutter sounds like if it's exactly the same amount of space, it would be mutter. So since the Mishnah is meduyak like Rav Papa, the halacha is like Rav Papa. The Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Makifin shlosha chavolim, zeh lemala mizeh, v'zeh lemala mizeh. This is talking about, let's say again, this is the case of the caravan that's traveling, and they want to set up a Rosh Hashanah, so they can do 3 ropes one on top of the other. This is basically a rope fence. Just have less than 3 tvachim between each rope, and then you're basically going to have lavud, a full wall. And then the Mishnah says, Shir chavolim v'ovyon yeser al tefach. Now the measurement and the thickness of these ropes need to be a little more than a tefach, kedei sheyehei hakol asar tvachim. That way the whole thing will add up to 10 tvachim. In other words, if you have from the ground to the first rope less than 3 tvachim, a tiny bit less, and then from the first rope to the second rope a tiny bit less than 3 tvachim, and from the second rope to the third rope a tiny bit less than 3 tvachim, you have 3 tiny bits left, 3 tiny bits less than 10 tvachim. So therefore, every single rope is going to have to be a little bit more than a tefach, and then you're going to end up with exactly a 10 tvachim high wall. And then it says, Makifin bekonim, you're also allowed to use poles or branches to create this fence. As long as you don't have between one pole and the other pole 3 tvachim. And then the Mishnah says, B'shayara dibro divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This leniency is only true by a caravan that's traveling. It would not be true in other situations. Rashi here says, B'shayara dibro hekilu. When it came to a shayara, they're lenient, etzlan she'enan tzrichan ela o shasi o erev. That you can have walls that are either shasi or erev. What is shasi? Shasi kagon konim. Shasi would be like when you put the branches, you stick branches into the ground, what we would call vertical fence. You only need to have vertical poles, and you can use lavud and create a wall. An Erev, or you could do Erev. What's Erev? Could go on Chavolim, like you have a rope fence. And again, there you're doing it horizontally, and you create that kind of wall. Rashi explains, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that by an individual, a non-caravan, you have to have both directions. You have to have vertical and horizontal. You can't just do one, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Again, that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. The Chacham say, no, it's not true. It happens to be that shayara was the common case. So that's the case we give as an example. But in reality, anybody can make up walls that are either shasi or erev. It doesn't make a difference. It could be shasi, which is vertical. It could be erev, which is horizontal. It doesn't make a difference. And then now the Mishnah says what seems to be a very similar machlokas. Kol mechitza she'ena shel shasi v'shel erev eina mechitza divrei Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that anytime you have a wall that is not shasi and erev, it's not a good mechitza. Rashi here says, Kol mechitza she'ena Rabbi Yossi poligole davua. Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, is arguing on Rabbi Yehuda and says, davua demasisin v'kamer, and he says, dafil l'shayara b'inan shasi v'erev. According to Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, even when it comes to a caravan, you're going to need both shasi and erev, so he is the strictest of the opinions. And then the Chachamim say it doesn't make any difference. It could be either shasi or erev, and again that seems to be the same as what the Chachamim say here, that lo dibru b'shayara ela b'hove, that it doesn't make a difference. It can be either shasi or erev is fine. Gemara now says, Amar Rav Hamnuna, Amar Rav. Rav Hamnuna says in the name of Rav, Hare Amru, they say, Omed Meruba ala Paretz b'shasi have Omed. We've already said that if you have a situation of shasi, again, meaning when it's vertical, we say that Omid Meruba ala Paretz works. As long as you have more walled-in space than open space, that's fine. Rashi says, Hare Amru, Omid Meruba ala Paretz b'shasi have Omed, Afagav the Ika Pirtzos, even though there's openings. Ketetnan le'el sham v'lo yehu Pirtzos yeseros ala binyan. It says you can't have more open space than closed space. Ustam klei behema shel shasiyu, she'omid al gavei karka. When you stand up vessels to create a wall, that's going to be basically vertical walls. That's going to be shasi. So we know that the idea of Omid Meruba ala Paretz works when it is shasi. But the question is, boy Rav Hamnuna, but Rav Hamnuna asks, be'erev mai. What about if it's horizontal, if it's like a rope fence? Would we apply the same rule of Omid Meruba ala Paretz? So Amar Abaya and Rashi here says here, be'erev mai mechavolim demasisin leka l'melef. He says from our Mishnah of a rope fence, you can't prove anything. Leka l'melef hechsher, you can't prove it's good. Tehasam kulo amidhu d'chalavidami. Because in our Mishnah, it's all like it's a closed fence because you're using lavud. So we're really asking in a case where you're not using lavud, but you have a situation of erev and majority is closed. Is that going to be good enough? So Amar Abaya, okay, so again, be'erev mai, what's the halacha by erev? Amar Abaya, Abaya says, Tashma, will come in here the following proof. Shir chavolim the ovyon yeser al tefach. What does it say in the Mishnah? It says that the amount, the size that the ropes have to be a little bit more than a tefach. Sheyu hakol asar tvachim. That way the entire thing adds up to 10 tvachim. So Abaya says, one second, v'misa, if it is really true that it's good enough to have omer meruba ala paretz, lama li yeser al tefach. you do not need to have the ropes be more than a tefach. You can do the following construction. Liavid pachos mishlosha v'chevel mashu. Have less than 3 tvachim from the ground to the rope, and then a chevel that's just a mashu, a tiny amount, less than a tefach. And then have, again, pachos mishlosha v'chevel mashu, again, less than 3 tvachim space and a chevel mashu. And then pachos me'arba v'chevel mashu, and then have just less than a 4 tvachim space and a little rope. And what's going to end up happening is the 2 ropes will combine to create a wall of 6 tvachim, and then the gap to the next rope is more than lavud, but you still have more closed space than open space. And here you have a situation of a 10 tefach high wall with more closed space than open space, which apparently didn't work, because the Mishnah says you need to have ropes which are a little bit more than a tefach. So apparently closed off space does not work. If you have majority closed off space, does not work when it's made erev, when it's made horizontal. So the Gemara says v'tizbara. What is that being logical? Is that really a construction you can legitimately have? Let's go through all the possibilities. This space of less than 4 tvachim, where you're not going to have lavud, where are you going to place this space? If you put it at the bottom, but as we've said, that becomes a mechitza where the gediyim can go right under it, and anytime you have that, it ruins the entire mechitza. So it doesn't matter what you have a situation of more closed off space than open space, doesn't make a difference. The whole mechitza is going to be null and void because the goats can go right through. Now, if you put the larger amount of space on top, what's going to happen is you have a space of 4 tvachim under that rope, and then you have a space of a little less than 4 tvachim under that rope, but it's not a lavud. And then you have space from the rope all the way up to the sky. That means you have airspace on both sides of the rope. It's basically like the rope is completely null and void. And then imukim le b'mitzai. So the last possibility is that the middle gap is going to be a little less than 4 tvachim, but that's not going to work either. Because in that case, if the middle gap is 4 tvachim, then on the top you have a wall, so to speak, a halachic wall of 3 tvachim. On the bottom you have a halachic wall of 3 tvachim. So you'd have to combine the top and the bottom to be more closed space than open space. That was an issue before. That's not necessarily so clear. When we talk about omed merubal parts, it might have to be from one side. You can't combine areas that have gaps between them. That's what the Gemara is now saying. Shamat mina, should we see from this omed merubal parts mishtei ruchos have omed, that you're allowed to have omed merubal parts from 2 sides? That's not necessarily true. So that wouldn't be a good construction either. So the Gemara says, Ela Rav Hamnuna hachi kami boile. So you're right. Rav Hamnuna rather was asking about the following case. He asked as follows: Kegon de aisi machzeles de havazayinu mashu. He said, let's say you have a mat that is that's 7 and a little bit more. It's a little bit more than 7 tvachim. And then you carve into that mat a space which is 3 tvachim, so there's no lavud anymore in that area, in that gap. V'shavik ba daliru mashu, and you leave an area of 4 and a little bit. So basically, you have a mat with a tiny amount, and then you have a gap of 3, and then you have 4 and a tiny amount left. That is of the mat. And you place that within 3 tvachim of the ground. That is the case that he was asking about. Rashi over here says, Ella, rather, we just went through all the scenarios, and you don't have a case of omed merubal parts that works as an actual question when you have a situation of horizontal ropes. So here's really the case that Rav Hamnuna had that he was asking about. Again, v'shavak badalid, you leave the mat, you leave 4 tvachim of the mat, solid, shleiman, full, lamalo, mashu, lamata. So you leave 4 on top, and you leave a little bit on the bottom with a gap of 3 in the middle. And that little mashu at the bottom of the mat, you put it within 3 tvachim of the ground. Now in this case, you got omed merubal parts from one side, because the mat itself that you left was 4 tvachim, and the gap is only 3 tvachim, so you have more omed than parts. You also can't say that the airspace on both sides of that 4 tvachim area makes it as if it's not there. Because here in this case, again, the mat is 4 tvachim of solid mattress material, and that is going to be more than the avir that is below it. And that was actually Rav Hamnuna's question, and we don't have an answer to that question. He wanted to know, again, in such a situation where it's horizontal, do we apply the rule of omed merubal parts? And now Rav Ashi gives another understanding of Rav Hamnuna's question. Rav Ashi says, Mechitza teluya miboile. He was actually just asking a question about what happens if you have a hanging mechitza. Kedeboy minei Rabbi Tavla me Rav. It's the same question that Rabbi Tavla asked Rav. Mechitza teluya mao shatatir bechurva. What if you have a hanging wall in a churva like a destroyed building? Amar lei said to him, ein mechitza teluya materes ela b'mayim. He says mechitza teluya only works by water. Kalu shekilu chachamim b'mayim. This is a leniency that we have by water. Rashi here explains mechitza teluya miboile machzelas asora. Let's say you have a mat that is 10 tvachim, sheikbia min akarka shlosho yoser, but you lift it off the ground 3 tvachim or more, so you're not having lavud. Miboy leila Rav Hamnuna. That's what Rav Hamnuna was asking. Imevatel loomed leparas shemitachtav. Does the omed, is that mevatel the parts underneath? Hoalu pachos mimenu olo, since it's less than that? And he answered, Ella b'mayim, it only works by water. Lahatir lamalos kagon gezustra shi lamalim in amayim paraketzad mishtafin. Let's say you make some kind of wall contraption over the water, and you want to fill up the water from below. That is the only time where you can use a mechitza teluya. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots, quoting the Mishnah Makifin bekanim v'chulu. And the Gemara says b'shayara in biyachid lo. The implication of Rabbi Yehuda is that only by a caravan are we lenient to allow walls of just shasi or just erev, but by an individual we would not be so lenient. So the Gemara says, is that really true? Vatanya, but we learned in a brayso. Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol mechitzas Shabbos lo hitiru liyachid yosmi beis hasayim. Rashi here explains, Kol mechitzas Shabbos bahanach mechitzos ru'uos. We're talking about the bad mechitzos, the ones that are inferior. Shehein de shasi, or the erev, they're only made of shasi or only made of erev. Ka'amar sheitirum l'ravim al yedei adachak. So what Rabbi Yehuda is saying in this statement is that for the public we allow it al yedei adachak, but lo itirum liyachid ihekef behen yosmi beis hasayim. But if you use such mechitzos for an individual, we don't allow it if you surround an area that's more than a beis hasayim. V'yaf agav shukav ladira, even though you surrounded the area for living purposes. Sharei loder ben belele Shabbos hikifam erev Shabbos ha beis hasayim miyashari. But the Gemara is, so even though you did it for living purposes, but if you made these kind of bad mechitzos, it's not going to be good if the area that you're surrounding is more than a beis hasayim. But the point is that a beis hasayim apparently would be good even for an individual. And our Mishnah implies that for an individual you cannot use these kind of mechitzos. So what's going on over here? So the Gemara says, Kidamar Rav Nachman v'Temer Rav Bevi bar Abaye. The answer is like Rav Nachman, or some people say Rav Bevi bar Abaye answered on a different issue, which we'll talk about later. And what did they say? They said, Lo nitzrucha ela litein lahen kol tzarchan. Hachinami litein lahen kol tzarchan. What it's talking about is when Rabbi Yehuda says that for an individual, in our Mishnah, for an individual, this kind of mechitza is no good, he means kol tzarchan. You can't have such a mechitza to do anything you want. There are some limitations. As Rashi over here explains, Litein lohen kol tzarchan, dehad dekamar Rabbi Yehuda b'shayara dibro v'lo liyachid. When it says that by a caravan in our Mishnah you can use these and not by a yachid, Litein lo kol tzarcho b'hanach mechitzas kamar. That just means that a tzibor, if you have a public, they can do anything they want with such mechitzas. But for an individual, we would give an individual a beis hasayim, hoel uladira hekifa, because he surrounded it for dira purposes. The difference is that when you have a shayara, when you have a caravan, we give kol tzarchan. So that it means that what the Gemara is really saying is that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, who seemed to be very strict and did not allow an individual to use these kind of inferior mechitzas, the individual could do it. It's just that there are some limitations. So the Gemara now says, Heicha itmar de Rav Nachman v'Temer Rav Bevi bar Abaye. What was the original case on which either Rav Nachman or Rav Bevi bar Abaye made this statement that the limitation is only to get called tzarchan, but you can still use such a mechitza? The Tanan, Ahad Tanan, it's on the following Mishnah. It says as follows: Kol mechitza she'ena shel shasi ve'erev ena mechitza divrei Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. In the Mishnah it said that if you have any mechitza that's not shasi and erev, it's not a good mechitza. So that was Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah, and as we explained when we did the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda was making a general statement in all cases, whether it be a shayara, whether it be an individual. If it's not made with both shasi and erev, it's not going to be good. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, is Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda really so strict? Vatanya, but we learned in a brayso, Echad Yachid v'Echad Shayara l'chavolim. Both an individual and a caravan can use a rope fence. Uma bein Yachid l'Shayara. And what's the difference between a Yachid and a Shayara? Yachid nosnin lo beis hasayim. If it's a Yachid, he gets a beis hasayim. Shnayim nosnin lehem beis hasayim. If it's 2 people, that also doesn't qualify as a Shayara. They get a beis hasayim. And Gimel, once it's 3 people, Nasu Shayara, they become like a caravan. V'nosnin lohen beis sheish. You give them an area of 6, meaning you give them 3 beis hasayims. A beis hasayim is like 2 saw, so you give him 3 of those, that's 6. Divrei Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. So here already we see that Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda is saying that it's possible to make an Erev fence, a rope fence. It's just that there's certain limitations. The Chachamim say Echad Yachid V'Echad Shayar. It doesn't matter if it's an individual, doesn't matter if it's a caravan. Nostin Lahen called Sarchan. You give them anything they need. Uvilvad Shalo Yehei Beis Asayim Panoi. As long as you don't have an extra more than they need by a Beis Asayim. You give them everything they need. You can even give them a little extra, but you can't give them extra to the point of a Beis Asayim. So on this whole Mishnah, so it seems to be a contradiction. In one place, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda is saying it's no good. In our Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda seems to say it's no good at all if it's only Shasi or only Erev. And over here, on the contrary, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda is saying it's good for a Yachid, it's good for Shayar. There's just some limitations. So Amar Rav Nachman v'Teimer Rav Veva bar Abaye. So on this, Rav Nachman and some people say Rav Veva bar Abaye said Lo nitzracha ela litein lahen kol tzarchan. What Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda means when he says it's not a mechitza, he meant it's for kol tzarchan. But if it's but just to use it with limitations, certainly it would be a good mechitza. And Rashi explains litein lem kol tzarchan ha de kamer Rabbi Yossi de masnisin de eina mechitza. When Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah says it's not a mechitza, eina mechitza l'chol tzarchan. It's not a mechitza for anything they want. Aval mechitza lebeis asayim le'echad lebeis sheish l'shayara. But it could be a beis asayim for an individual, and it could even be up to a beis sheish for a shayara. That would be fine. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Darish Rav Nachman Mishum Rabbeinu Shmuel. Rav Nachman darshan in the name of Rabbeinu Shmuel. Yachid knows nimlo beis asayim. If it's an individual with these kind of bad mechitzas, he can get up to a beis asayim. Beis nosen lahu beis asayim. If it's two people, also beis asayim. Gimel nasu shayara v'nosen lahem beis sheish. And if it's three, they become a caravan, they get a beis sheish. That seems exactly like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda just said. So the Gemara says, Shavak Rabbanan v'avadat Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. What's going on over here? The Rav Nachman in the name of Rabbeinu Shmuel is foregoing the opinion of the Rabbanan, and he's going like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara says, you're right. Hadar ukim Rav Nachman amora aleh. After this, Rav Nachman had an amora announce for him, Vidarish and Darshan, that it was a mistake. That which I said before, that was a mistake. Beram kacham. Really, the halacha is as follows: Yachid nosnim lo beis asayim. An individual gets a beis asayim. Shnayim nosnim lo beis asayim. Two people get a beis asayim. That part is like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. But shlosha nasu shayara. But three people become a shayara. V'nosnim lam kol tzarchan, and they get all of what they want. And we'll continue this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph.